Hello world. I wanted to make this video because I know no one else is going to. So, hasn't been said in 21 years now, but Alex Jones, you're a liar and you make money off of lying. Obviously, I'm not talking about the nature of conspiracy or controversy or esoterica, in which most of that work he plagiarized from William Cooper. But I don't know if you guys were watching or follow Joe Rogan podcast, but Alex Jones just recently came back on the Joe Rogan podcast, episode 1255, entitled Alex Jones Returns. And in the podcast, they obviously they're going to start discussing conspiracies. Operation Northwoods comes up, and if you don't know what that is, that will be fairly clear by the end of the video, and you'll also have the tools to know where to go really look at it. And as far as the actual document itself, Operation Northwoods was just that, an operation, a classified operation at that, which was an umbrella of multiple different things that involved um, Cuba. And the most important part of all this that pretty much everybody knows about is a document proposed called Military Justification or Justification for Military Intervention in Cuba. And some of those tenets include blowing up an airliner and blaming it on Cuba so we could invade them. So this came up around 2004, 5, or 6 with loose change in the first part of the 9/11 Truth movement, because when you began to talk about 9/11 Truth, people always say, "How could you think the government would do that?" Well, we have an exact example where they proposed to do such a thing that involved an airliner, involved killing American citizens to justify a war. So that kind of sets the ground for what happened there on 9/11. What's interesting about this is that Jones not only claims to be the one who broke the story, which is a lie. Cooper broke the story, which was already written in a book, which we'll cover here. So I give credit where credit is due. And it's on the Cooper broadcast, which you're going to hear. But Cooper broke this Operation Northwoods, this false flag proposed, which, by the way, was never done. As you know from history, it was never done, but it was proposed. He did this on July 17th, 2001, before 9/11, obviously. So that always gives me chills that he was able to break one of the, I wouldn't say a smoking gun, but one of the precedents of a smoking gun for 9/11, before 9/11. So, I guess we'll go first with what Jones says on the Alex Jones podcast. So I had it backed up a little bit. Eddie Bravo had just come into the podcast, and listen to what Jones says. So work with me here.
This is what I'm saying.
That's it.
He just talked about Operation
Yeah.
Northwoods. That
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah.
That was Operation Northwoods.
Yeah.
That is some. That's about.
By the
as
way, that's
hot-
ABC
That's
News.
about as. That's
This is
true.
clear
You
as
agree.
day.
Yeah,
It's
it's clear as day.
By the way, I broke that.
But if you break it down
Did
and
you?
you look at it,
I'll tell you.
You look at Operation.
On
Notice Alex Jones say, "By the way, I broke that," and Rogan leans in and says, "Did you?" And then he says, "Yeah, I'll explain." But he never goes on to explain that for obvious reasons, not just for lying, but it's a podcast. Things get forgotten about. I would like to hear him say more about that, because obviously I could be wrong here, but I know that I'm not, because there is no evidence on the internet, and it would be on there if Jones had actually broke the story. I only know about this because I follow William Cooper, and this broadcast I'm going to show you was very hard to find. It reminds me of a Star Wars quote: "Many Bothans died to get us this information." You don't know how hard it was to find this and to even know about it, because I was listening to the podcast, and when I heard him lie and say that he broke the story, I instantly knew of this exact broadcast 18 years ago by Cooper, where he had already published this story and exposed it and gave you, the whole, basically read the document out on air, named all the names and the dates of who was working for the Joint Chiefs of Staff that proposed this. I believe it was Robert McNamara that it got proposed to. So, let's go back one more time and listen to Jones say that he broke the story. So I'm not taking Jones out of context. He claims that he broke the story of Operation Northwoods.
That aspect of life, it can be incredibly overwhelming because you start thinking that's the whole world. That the whole world is these conspiracies. Because these are the things you're concentrating on primarily.
But this is what I'm saying.
That's it.
He just talked about Operation
Yeah.
Northwoods. That
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah.
That was Operation Northwoods.
Yeah.
That is some. That's about.
By the
as
way, that's
hot-
ABC
That's
News.
about as hot. That's
It's
true.
as clear
You
as
agree.
day.
Yeah,
It's
it's
clear as
clear as
day.
day.
By the way, I broke that.
But if you break it down
Did
and you
you?
look at it,
I'll tell you.
you look at Operation North.
Bullshit, Alex Jones. Alex Jones is a bullshit artist. And there, you're about to see exactly why. This was recorded 18 years ago off of a shortwave radio broadcast coming out of Eager, Arizona from William Cooper in his show Hour of the Time. Most people know about William Cooper from a book, by the way. I have it over here, Behold a Pale Horse. It's a great book, but it's a book. You can only read it once or twice, and you get all the information, and that's it. Excuse me. Hour of the Time ran for, I believe, almost 10 years, 9 or 10 years, from 1992 to 2001. And 4 or 5 days, I believe it's 4 days a week, 5 days a week, something like that. I discovered all of it posthumously. I'm a lot younger. I was born in the 90s, so I came to all of this from the internet age and from YouTube. Thankfully, was able to show me the whole story of what happened with Cooper and Hour of the Time and Kadji and Veritas, and none of you know about this, and that's why Cooper is so, Freudian slip, that's why Jones is so famous and so rich. He's capitalized on literally all of the work that somebody else did and then was murdered by the government for it. There's a reason why Jones is not murdered. I mean, it's simple as that. You tell the truth, eventually you're gonna find yourself in a sticky situation. There's no reason why Jones would be as successful as he is, and he would be as safe, and his family, if he was actually telling the truth. And this is not in any way to be construed as a threat, obviously. It's a reality. If you actually try and expose what is going on, you're going to notice you might wind up suicided, or, your brakes or get cut, or at the least start losing your job and not be able to get hired anywhere else, be kicked out of the university if you're in one, and social media accounts banned, and things can just start to get constricting in on you. And that's what occurred with Cooper, which has never occurred with Jones. So that's one of the first telltale signs of someone who's working as a controlled opposition, which I highly, highly believe is the case with Alex Jones, that he is a controlled opposition. He is a sanctioned straw man, scapegoat, fall guy for the conspiracy and controversy movement of common people who discover the esoteric sides of both religion and, at this point, history. Because there's a lot of history that's been hidden. So, without going on any deeper, I think I made my point with Jones claiming he has the story of Operation Northwoods. This is from 18 years ago.
Way back, ladies and gentlemen, in the early 60s, the Joint Chiefs of Staff of all of the military forces of the United States of America proposed that the United States government mount terrorist attacks upon America as pretext for a Cuban invasion. Just like Hitler burned the Reichstag in order to be able to attack his enemies and remove them from opposition so the Nazi Party could take the majority of seats in the German Congress, and Hitler could mount the throne as the Chancellor, the Reich Chancellor of Germany. after, of course, the German Constitution had been shredded and flushed down the toilet. In his new expose of the National Security Agency entitled Body of Secrets, author James Bamford highlights a set of proposals on Cuba by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, codenamed Operation Northwoods. He talks about it in his book. And I can hear you now yelling, he made it up! James Bamford is a scumbag extremist, he made it up! No, he didn't make it up, because I went to the National Archives, and directly from the National Archive, I obtained the memorandum for the Secretary of Defense, subject justification for U.S. military intervention in Cuba. This document titled Justification for U.S. Military Intervention in Cuba was provided by the Joint Chiefs of Staff to Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara on March 13, 1962 as the key component of an operation called Northwoods.
So there you have it, folks. There's Bill Cooper talking about Operation Northwoods on July 17th, 2001, prior to 9/11, exposing how the United States government is absolutely willing to kill its own citizens to justify invasion of another country, which is exactly what has happened in Afghanistan and Iraq. And here we are, 18 years, 17, 18 years, depending how you want to look at it, a year later, even though we were involved during the 90s, even though we created ISIS and Al-Qaeda. At the end of the 80s and the early 90s, we armed and funded and radicalized a group called the Mujahideen because we wanted to create a Vietnam, basically, for the Soviet Union. In other words, we wanted to create a war that would just waste casualties and waste money, and it would kill it. And in many ways it helped, but the problem is as soon as we did that, we were just like, okay, bye, and we just walked away and radicalized these people and just left them in control. And a power vacuum occurred, different factions started to fight, and the Mujahideen eventually became Al-Qaeda. So just within a few years you see them now bombing U.S. embassies in Yemen. I believe that was the place that Osama bin Laden was first implicated. And that goes also into the evidence that, I don't know, we can't do it now because he's dead. He's probably dead a lot longer before he actually died in 2011. The guy, there's a lot of reports that he had died earlier from different countries. The United States didn't recognize it in 2011, but that's a totally different conversation. On the FBI's website, the Most Wanted website, on the profile for Osama bin Laden, 9/11 was not listed all the way up until his death. The only thing that was listed was the 1993 bombings, I believe, of a U.S. embassy in Yemen. Don't quote me on that, but this would give you enough to do your own research. Now, Google that, or, pretty sure just Google Osama bin Laden FBI Most Wanted, and you'll be able to see enough of the screenshots, hopefully people were able to take, that 9/11 was never implicated. You'd wonder why. So, long story short, Alex Jones is a liar. He claims to break a story that somebody else did who is dead and not here to defend himself. They are dead because they were murdered, whereas Jones still continues to make money selling his snake oil and dick juice pills and telling you half-truths about interdimensional aliens. So that's his thing now. That's what conspiracy is going to be mixed with. That if you believe 9/11 had in any way roots on the inside to allow it to occur, that you believe in DMT smoking aliens now. That's what Alex Jones has done for us in that movement. So, thanks, Alex Jones, and I think I'll just let Cooper take it away as far as that goes.
So on the air tonight, I'm going to tell you, Alex Jones, you are a bold-faced, miserable, stinking little coward liar. Now, let me say that again so there's no mistake about it. You can all tell Alex Jones that I said this, and I suspect he's listening because he does. Alex Jones, you are a bold-faced, stinking, rotten little coward liar.